company's been in business 5 years. We attend these trade shows, and chat gets no respect, right? So we get thrown into the chat aisle with all of the other chat companies. And the chat session gets the last session on the last day. And frankly, nobody cares. I go to these seminars, right, and I look at the groups. I'll speak 4th or 5th that day. 30 in the class, 30 in the class, 30 in the class. They come to my class and there's 3. It's, and why? And so people haven't really embraced this chat idea. And we have something very powerful in our company. Presence-aware advertising. Chat is the byproduct of what we do. That is very powerful, but people don't see it that way. So, sort of out of frustration, I said to John, I said, you know what? I'm going to build a presentation that talks about chat, but really focuses more on the meat of what we do. And that was my focus. So I started to think about it and learn and pick up material to use. I shifted to a different way of thinking. And this is the byproduct of those thoughts, and I put it together in a presentation. I named it Connecting with Customers in Every Moment of Truth. Or stated differently, it's about using technology that's available to present strong calls to action to let people know that you're there while the customer is looking. And to understand this presentation and what it's about, you need to understand what it means to be present, so I'll cover that. And then I chose the words very carefully. Connecting in the car business, and it probably happens, well, there's the people here that work here, right? Connecting, it's all about leads. Everyone wants to know, how many cars will I sell? And we really don't know the answer as to how many cars you will sell. But in the automobile business, everything is thought of in a very linear way. There's some relationship between your phone calls, your emails, your form leads, your chats, and the number of ups, and then the number of cars that are sold. But if you think about it, leads and the larger portion of leads are very nonlinear. There can be those physical connections where you physically connect with a customer and you get their name, you get their phone number, you have a chat, and they come in and buy. But there are also emotional connections. What was the connection that made that customer come in and buy? Was it your face? Was it something you said? So I want you to think about connections not being so linear. If you look at the car dealerships, there's typically 3 people in the internet department and 23 people on the floor. Well, if we thought only in terms of linear process, those numbers would be reversed. So, people just show up. That's what they do. But they're out searching. In Every Moment of Truth, I took those words from a book that was written by Jim Lisinski called Zero Moment of Truth. Have any of you read the book? All right. Bill has? All right. One. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Zero Moment of Truth and tell you how that ties in. But I also want to share 2 stories. I'd like to share a story how I met John, and another story of what happened when I met John. So how I met John, I was in between jobs, and I was doing some odd and end working, consulting for dealers. And a friend of mine said, you should check out Contact at Once. I understand it's a technology that's unique. Check it out. So I'm in my office, and I'm sitting there. And the way the technology works, Contact at Once uses software that's available to all of you, that you can place software on your computers. It ties into your advertising, and it lets people know at the business who's available on your website. So in this case, I'm in my office. I visit Contact at Once. This is 5 years ago, and I'm sitting there, and a picture of John falls down on my computer screen. And I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. And it looks something like this. So that would be John's picture, just falling down on the screen. So I'm 46 years old at the time. It invited me to chat. I had never chatted before. I've texted a message, but I never chatted. So I sent a message, and I said hi. And John said hi. And I think I said, this is really cool. And he said, thanks. And I wanted to figure this out right away, so I said, are you really John, or are you an avatar? And he goes, oh no, I'm really John. And I said, are you looking for any salespeople? And he said, I am. And I'm like, great, because I'm a salesperson. And he said, send me your resume. And you would think the rest is history, right? I was officially turned down for employment at Contact at Once. So I didn't get the job, and I was disappointed. So I figured, you know what? This is so cool. I'm going to go sell chat. So the first thing I did is start researching chat companies. Spent the next 24 hours just looking at them all. And I'm thinking, okay, this one's different. And I'm starting to understand why it's different. But they wouldn't hire me. So I asked John if I could take it into the market and sell it to some dealers in Philly. And that had never been done before. There was one other person that had done it briefly in another area, but it had never been done in Philly. So I went out and I started to tell my dealers that I had this technology. You know, if they were present in front of their computers and touching their mouse or keyboard, their faces could fall, and people looked at me like I had 3 eyeballs. And people just basically said no. So I'm like, this is too good for them not to have this. So I went out and purchased a laptop with a wireless card, and I went in and showed them what we did. And when I showed them, magical things happened. So totally different story, but you know, we went through the whole pricing. I asked how I would make money, it wasn't enough, so I charged all the dealers all the money up front, and I got it every time. So I started to, that's how I fed, and you know, my family for a long period of time. It was part of it, but I was still looking for what I would really do. One thing led to another. I got an opportunity to come in and join the company, and one of my first meetings was in Brooklyn, New York. And I go to meet another John. So John had caught wind of what we do. And I get to the meeting like this. I'm at this meeting, big conference table. Everybody in there is Italian except me. And I walk into the meeting, and John said, "So Ed," and John is a professional businessman, I guess late 50s at the time. He was layman's way of thinking, street smart. "Ed, let me make sure I understand this. You're telling me I was on the Bargain News looking at a car, and I was greeted by a sales guy at a dealership while I was on that Bargain News." And I said, "That's right." And he goes, "I want that on Cars.com and Auto Trader right away." And this is 5 years ago. And I said, "I love the way you think, but it doesn't happen like that." So I'm there. He goes, "Look, you're here. Why don't you show my guys what you do?" So I am at the meeting, and at this point, I get down on one knee, and I'm trying to get the in-focus machine to shine up on that wall. And I just couldn't get it done. I'm not very technical, as you know, Damon. And I was struggling to get that done. And under my breath, I uttered the word, "freak." I said freak, I did. And the guy next to me to my right, he just let me have it with the F-bombs. He said, "Dude, you're in Brooklyn. It's F-you, it's F something, but it ain't effing freak." So, you know, now I'm on my knees and I'm scared. And they're all looking at me. So I finally got it to work. I showed the business card drop, and everything changed. People were like, "Wow, this is really cool." And the meeting was going really, really well. And someone asked me a question directly across the table that I didn't know. It's 5 years ago. I didn't have all the answers. And I said, "I don't know the answer to that question." Well, in New York, the blood's in the water. So the next guy asked me a question that was a little crazier. The next guy asked me a question that I think was kinky. And then the next guy asked me a question that was kind of normal, but he said, "Does it have spell check?" The guy that F-bombed me. And I'm like, "It doesn't have spell check." And he goes, "Then I'm out." And I'm like, "Well, why are you out?" He said, "Because Giamo can't F and spell." So this is my big chance to get in the game with the New Yorkers. So I said, "Who the F is Giamo?" And at that point, I think I earned a little respect, but the owner at that point stood up and he slammed both hands into the table, hard. He's like, "Bam!" And he said, "Everybody in this room, shut up." He said, "For 50 years, people have been coming to my family to buy cars. And for 50 years, they've been walking through our doors, and for 50 years, they've been calling us. They've been sending us emails for 15 years. And Ed is showing us a new way for people to talk to us in some way through this internet thing. And I don't care that Giamo can't spell." And then he asked each person in the room, "Would you deny my customers the ability to speak with me? Trevor, would you deny my customers the ability to speak with me?" "No, John, no, John." Everybody said, "No, John." And that's a powerful message, because if you don't have software on your website where you can talk to people today, it is costing you business. And that's a promise. Now, I'm around the country listening to the industry experts talk, and everyone says the same thing. If you don't have chat on your website, you are losing business. Now, not all chat products are created equally, but the fact is, if it's not on your website, you're losing business. There's people that are not talking to you. Now, Facebook. Who here has a Facebook icon on their website? Everybody. Every dealership has a Facebook icon on their website, taking up important real estate. I was curious, so I called Jason Azell, the owner of Dadium. I said, "Jason, got a question for you. Do you happen to know how often a Facebook icon gets clicked on?" He said, "Funny you should ask. We just did a study on that." A Facebook icon on a website converts at about 0.0035%, a little over a quarter of 1%. A chat icon, just a static chat icon sitting in the masthead, or if you listen to your marketing advertising company and you make it look really great and blend it into your page, it'll convert somewhere between 0.5 and 1.0% on a regular basis. If you take that static chat icon and keep it above the fold, perhaps on a toolbar where it sits and holds its position on the page, we typically see those things convert somewhere between 1.2% and 2.5% on average. But if you take a picture of a person and you put that picture on a website and you proactively greet that customer, as you saw a moment ago, we see conversions in sales starting at typically around 3.5%, maybe up to 6 or 7% on average. In service, it's a lot higher. So that's the power of connecting with people. But yet, only 17% of all dealers, 17% of you in this room, will have chat on your website. So I want to leave you with that thought. ZMOD. So Google came up with the term, and they called it zero moment of truth. And the way this term came to be is through Procter & Gamble. So in order for you to buy a car, there needs to be some type of stimulus. Something stimulates us to get a car. It could be you've just made your last lease payment, you've made your final financing payment, your car's old, it's falling apart. You could be like me and live in Philadelphia and you have a daughter that goes to the University of Kentucky and you don't want to drive there anymore, so you get her a car. There's some kind of stimulus that makes us do something. And then there's the first moment of truth. The first moment of truth in the car business could be that first phone call into the dealership. And then there's the second moment of truth when you take something home and use it. So Procter & Gamble did this study where it's the 7 seconds at the shelf. I'll give you a real life story for me and how this ties in. And Mark Hayes and I traveled to the West Coast from the East Coast early one morning. So we go out, we meet on the West Coast. Mark flies in from Atlanta, I fly in from Philadelphia. We spend the whole day out there on the West Coast, and we get back to our hotel room, typically in a bad area, not so great hotel. That's what we do. And Mark said to me, "How about a beer?" And I'm like, "That sounds great." So Mark headed across the street. I was praying that he would make it back safely. And he comes back with a 6-pack of lukewarm beer. So into my college days, I went and got the ice and I'm spinning beers. And Mark said to me, "How about sushi?" I'm like, "That sounds great. I never had it before, but I'm going to try it." So Mark goes online. And he starts calling out reviews to me. Now Google reports that 70% of Americans check reviews before they do anything. So Mark's calling out reviews and he says, "I found a place, Okie Dokie Sushi, 11 reviews, they're all great, let's go there." I'm like, "Sounds good to me." So get the beers cold enough, we each have a beer, we head down to Okie Dokie. We drive a few miles, we turn the corner, I believe it was 7-Eleven, dry cleaners, it was a little strip mall, Okie Dokie. And Mark's like, "Sure you want to go in?" I'm like, "They had great reviews." And we went in, and Mark, who eats sushi all the time, tells me it's still the best sushi that he's ever had. But we made our decision to buy in zero moment. We made it because other people told us that it was the place to go. So that's a zero moment experience. So in the car business, it's essential for your sales team to be available and present to customers during their zero moment or zero moments. There's debates now in the car business. Oh, it's not a single moment that makes people buy. It's a compilation of many moments. And that's probably true, right? It may not be one single moment that makes you get that car, but a series of moments that leads up to the car. But I can promise you it only takes one bad moment to screw it all up. So zero moment is very important. And your dealership's ability to make a positive impression at precisely the right time and place to influence consumer buying is the goal of every dollar you've ever spent on advertising. But what could be more greater, however, is the power to both influence a buyer and at the same time open up a direct line of communication between them and your sales organization. That is, in essence, the promise of present in the moment and live chat. Been around the country, traveling, and I've listened to Google present. And when Google presents, the rooms are filled. They're maxed out. People can't get in the rooms, they're so packed. And Google always talks about the 4 B's. To be found, to be engaged, to be relevant, and to be metric driven. John Batille summarizes it best in his book called The Search. He states, what does the world want? Build a company that answers this question in all its shades of meaning, and you've unlocked the most intractable riddle of marketing, of business, and arguably of human culture itself. And over the past 13 and a half years, I added that part, Google has done just that. They've built the database of customer intentions. Whether we like it or not, Google has transformed our culture. It has made us an impatient society. I get pissed off waiting at red lights. We don't like the wait. We want everything, right? We want everything right away. And Google has made us that way. There are 75 million Gen Yers entering the car market. They have grown up totally different than all of us. The world has been at their fingertips. Every question answered at the blink of an eye. Didn't do well enough in school, perhaps you had a tutor. If you played Little League, everybody got a trophy just for playing. They're used to winning, they're not used to losing. They will never walk down the driveway to pick up their newspaper. And if you don't work in a glass business where they can see in, they won't trust you. And if you try to get their information before, like take information from them, they're not going to trust you very much either for that. They won't like you. It's a different ballgame. Google has changed our business. The game has changed. But many of us haven't changed. Most dealers still live and act and behave in a pre-internet history. But our consumers are off doing something different. So this is about changing. So a question for you. Does every page on your website answer every question humanly imaginable? What do you think? No, it doesn't. Why do customers come to the website? They have questions. So when somebody wants something, what do? They search. They go on a journey of discovery. Google reports that that journey today is 18 to 19 hours long. The average customer looks at 18.2 different points of interest before they buy something. How do you become present and available in that moment? How do we become present and available in 18.2 moments? Google reports the search gets very intense at 6 months out. It can last a year, but 6 months out, it intensifies. 5 months in, it intensifies. And then it picks up energy in the last 30 days, and people make decisions to buy. So that's the key here. How do we become present and part of the content itself? And that's our challenge, and that's our opportunity in 2012. Being present in zero moment. So you may be thinking, and some of our publishers thought this way, okay, these conversions, when we put this presence technology on our website, we seem to get more leads. Well, Cars.com did a study, and they called 1,000 people that started a chat, and they asked them, can you tell us what you did? What happened? And 67% purchased a vehicle in 30 days or less. These are big numbers, folks. You know, people communicating via instant messaging are low-level opportunities in the sales funnel. This is just to illustrate the number of people that are doing text-based communication throughout the world, but it's also an opportunity for me to share a story about the power of speed and the power of being present in the moment. And I'll summarize, but my sophomore in college, my daughter, went off to London a few years ago. She just graduated. First day there, I told her everything a dad could say. Nothing good happens after midnight. Stay with your friends. She gets separated because she's talking to a boy, and sure enough, they get mugged. But not only do they get mugged, she gets beat up. She was thrown to the ground, kicked in the face. She blocked the second kick. The third kick was in the stomach. Broke her pocketbook open. This guy's going around picking up her stuff, and she takes off. So you're sound asleep at home, you're a parent, you get a phone call from the London police, wakes you up in the middle of the night, it scares the hell out of you. And there's nothing you can do. The only thing I can do is go down into the basement, where my other daughter, who's 2 years younger, is having a sleepover. It's over the holiday season. So I go down, and as I tell them the story and the tears are rolling down the faces, I watch the behavior that I never experienced. I watched those girls pick up their cell phones. There were 4 of them. And I'm telling them the story, and I'm frustrated, and I'm upset, and their fingers are already going. They're going. We get a phone call about 4 hours later from a family from our community vacationing in France. The father had already talked to my daughter on Skype, was boarding a train to London to be with her while we made the arrangements to fly her home. So think about that. These are 4 kids in the basement at about 1:30 in the morning, texting, and the message gets to a family on the other side of the ocean. Now think about your business. You don't think speed matters? Everything today is fast. Fast food, fast cash, easy pass, speed dating. We're a fast society. Fast is in. The speed at which you communicate determines how quickly you can make money. If you can answer every customer question, every time, everywhere, you have a competitive advantage. If you can't, you're at a competitive disadvantage. That's the reality today. I chose this picture, this fellow here holding his cell phone, for a couple of reasons. To point out that text-based communication is big, it's bigger than phone calls, but also mobile. And if you view this as a mobile device, mobile can help us be present more often. Because in our world, with presence-aware advertising, the more that you're present and displaying your information, displaying your ads, the more likely it is that somebody will communicate with you. So mobile can keep you present and keep you relevant, keep you part of the content, even if you're not in front of your computer. You're still part of that content all through the customer's 0 moment or 0 moments of truth. I'll share a story. I was at New Holland Ford Toyota in Pennsylvania. It's about 90 days ago at this point, and I was there to help them. They weren't doing very well with our product. I came in like this and did a seminar at 8 a.m. At about 8:45, one of the salespeople raised his hand, and he interrupted the class. He said, "I have a story to tell. I sold Mr. So-and-so on Thursday." I had no idea who he was. He just showed up, he came in, and he asked for me, and he acted like he knew me. And I was embarrassed. I'm thinking, did I fail to log in up? How could I not remember this person? And I finally had to come clean. So I said to him, "Sir, I don't remember who you are." And he goes, "Oh, I didn't think you would. I saw your photo on the website. You look like a friendly enough guy. I figured I'd come in and ask for you." And he sold him a car. So there's a moment in that customer's time, there was that influence, his face on a website, that made him buy. Ask Julie. Julie came to me at a trade show. Julie's one of our customers and said, "Ed, I sell 1 to 3 cars every month to people that I've never met before. They just walk through the door and they ask for me because they've seen me. Maybe I've chatted, maybe we've exchanged information." While I was at that dealership that day, after my meeting, salespeople went out to their desk, managers in the office. My job was to put our software on all the computers, make sure everybody was up, get their cell phones ready, and I went desk to desk to desk. I happened to notice one fella against the car, just like this, for about an hour. Never moved. I go to the next desk, he's still there. Next desk, he's still there. So I finally had to walk by him, and I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He goes, "I have the best view of the lot." And I'm thinking, okay, I don't work there. That might be a good idea. Probably is. He works there. Brings him success. If he had his mobile device turned on, this could have happened. So my total time at the dealership, and I'll come back to that, was about 5 hours. Drove home, went online, and I said, how many people, went into our reports, were at that dealership while I was there? There were 132 unique visitors that just visited that website. That's not including the ones that may have visited on Cars.com or AutoTrader, just that website, 132. If he had his mobile phone turned on, he could have leaned up against that for the hour that I was there, looked at the lot, and 132 people could have seen his face. What's the chance of one of those people just walking in and saying, "Hey, you look like a friendly guy, I'll ask for you"? That's the power of mobile. That's why we want to be on our mobile phones. Zappos. I chose Zappos, hope it's okay to say in this meeting, but Zappos apparently is one of the top-rated companies in America to work for. And at Zappos, they have a 4-week training program. And at 3 weeks in, you're offered $4,000 to quit. So I ask you, if you were given $4,000, would you get up and leave? And if more than 1% of your employees would go, you might want to evaluate and say, do we have a problem? So I started to listen and take notes. What makes Zappos so special? Like, why are they this, great company to work for? Well, at Zappos, they inspire happiness and engagement to wow their customers. So I have a message for all of you. Do we inspire happiness and engagement to wow our customers every time? At Zappos, they make personal, emotional connections. Do we make personal, emotional connections every time? Zappos is available at every touch point. That's what Zappos does. I can tell you, even with our customers, perhaps 1% of dealers are doing that today. 1% of all dealers are touching customers everywhere. Again, we use a software at Contact at Once that can make you present in the content of where customers are searching everywhere. How often are you doing that at your dealership? So Zappos is a special place to work. To Zappos, they say that phone calls are sexy. Well, I thought in our business, phone calls have always been sexy. And I'm here to teach you a new synonym. It's called texy, because texy is just as sexy as a phone call in 2012. So I want to leave you with those thoughts. The shopping path. So just to summarize, I mentioned about the ZMOD, the 18.2 things. Shopping doesn't begin and end at a dealership website. There's a path, and people get on it. That's what I talked about a little while ago. This is about being present and available all through that path. But we're all human beings. We all think somewhat alike. People need to transition from what they have studied and what they've searched to a real person. That's what we do. We make a transition. And we make that connection now with the dealership. And these are important connections. And perhaps when we went back to the Facebook icon and the chat icons and the drop-in greeting cards with the pictures, why do they convert? We all possess something in our systems called reticular activating systems. It's our ability to filter information that's important and relevant versus stuff that's not important and not relevant. We don't see those things when we come to websites. But people have questions. They want to get answers. They have this validation process, this transition process. Their conscious mind might say to you, what is the price? You have this stock number of this car. Is it still in stock? But you can count on it. Their subconscious mind is digging and they're learning about you. Do I like you? Do I trust you? Can you help me? Give me a reason to come in and do business with you. That's what these people are asking for. That's what they want. And this is your ability with tools such as this to communicate. I want to share just a couple of points. This is one of our customers. This is 1 week's worth of activity. This is a dealer that's present in every moment of truth that they can be. They received 97 chats off their website, 27 off Craigslist, 23 off Cars.com, 22 from AutoTrader, 4 from Facebook, 10 from every car listed, 6 from their online credit application. This is a dealership that believes. They believe if they're present in the moment to all their customers, good things will happen. Now just think, if we go back to conversion, somewhere between 1.2% and 3.5%, 8%, whatever those numbers are, do the math. Just think how many people are seeing and meeting the team. How many people are like Julie? How many people have seen Julie in 5 different places and come in and say, hey, is Julie around? That's the power of being present. The big question is, okay, Ed, you're telling us all this great stuff about being present, but I'm concerned it's just going to take leads from other places. Well, we've proven empirically that that does not happen. It just never happens. So the chart on the left, for every 1,000 page views, this is off of publisher sites where we had access to phone data and email data. For every 1,000 page views, people are converting at about 0.84% on phone calls and 0.16 on emails. When the dealership is present and available, when we are saying, hey, we are here right now to help you, what we've learned is phone calls tend to go up. So if you did nothing but say, hey, I'm here to help you, you will get more phone calls than you do today. Your emails will stay about the same. The mean conversion, as you can see, 0.79, for chat is extremely high. It's a big number. It's a preferred way for people to communicate today. And that's an important stat for you to think about. I just wanted to show this quickly. You can think of it as a mirror. But you want to mirror when customers are present on your website. And this is what this shows. This heat map, you can see that people are present on your website in the heart of the day, which demonstrates that many people are searching for their next car while they're in the office. They're on the road. So if you're present and available, when they're present and available, they will talk to you. Hence, the 0.79 increase we just saw on the last page. People want to communicate this way. Add a photo. So we've heard it from people that adding a photo, don't add a photo, you're crazy. Everybody should add a photo. Faces are magical. It is the way we are built from the ground up as human beings. We are designed to see a face. Faces fire the spindle neurons in our brain. They just make us connect. It's a powerful tool, folks. Ask Julie, and you can ask a number of our dealers how much their face really matters. Add a photo every time. The 3 best practices: optimize for presence, stay online, touch the computer, get mobile. It's pretty simple. Involve the whole team. We recommend at your dealership to get everybody involved. If sales sucks, service will suffer. If service sucks, sales will suffer. So why not get those transcripts and get them to everybody? Let your service manager read the sales transcripts. He should know. He should know if the sales guys are screwing up opportunity to buy where he can fix the car. And if the chat comes in for service, the sales guy should see it. Because they want to know if service is screwing it up so they can sell the customer the next car. At Contact at Once, we share our transcripts. When those sales leads come into our organization, everybody reads them. And we use them for training. We use them to be accountable. We use them to share. Sometimes people come into sales, but they really want support. We can forward them. We get the whole team involved in our company. And use a supporting cast. We know that you're not perfect. We know that there will be misses. You may not be available 24/7. We know that a lot of people shop on Saturday morning. Saturday mornings at the car dealership are really, really busy. Right? Every dealership has a meeting on Saturday morning, followed by customers just pouring into the showroom. We know that people validate their search. We see peak chat times right before pre-shopping. Well, you may need a supporting cast. In our company, we chose to support you. So we have the ability, if you use our software, to be supported by our supporting cast. And finally, so what are all these customers talking about? Frankly, they talk about everything. They talk about everything. If you put chat on the homepage, they could ask you any question, from sales to service to where's my title. But people, they're chatting for a reason. Maybe they don't want to make a phone call yet. People have learned not to communicate too early. If they communicate too early, you may become a virus to them. People have learned not to fill out a lead form. Why? Because the lead form is going to go to 3 dealers and they're going to bombard the house. People don't want that. People like to remain anonymous till they feel comfortable. Try to connect too early with a Gen Wire. It's the reason Yahoo is where it is today, and AOL. They're push content businesses. People don't like that. People like to be in control. It's the way it is today. As a dealer, we're no longer really in control. The customer's in total control. And they can ask you every question. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Because if you can connect, you have a leg up on the next business. So are you present and connecting? The message isn't strong enough. The power to be present and to connect is just a winning formula. So your challenge and your opportunity from this day forward is to be part of the content. If you're part of the content, you will connect with more people on a daily basis, and you will sell more sales and service in your dealership. Thanks for your time.